Your dreams and thoughts better be so big that they better scare you. They better scare you.
Why?
Because you're not thinking big enough then. You don't want it. It has to be something that nobody else has thought about before or done before. The process it takes to be number one and stay at number one, you have no idea. You have an idea because you've been there. Everybody wants to sit in your seat until they have to sit in your seat. Very few people understand what winning and success does to an individual's mental health. Everybody thinks the more you win, the more successful you are. It just makes everything so much easier. And they don't understand the pressures that these individuals put on themselves.
I'm just a weird champion who's not like that, but I still am full of doubt all the time. And I've tried to find ways to believe I wouldn't have doubt. You know, I've tried to like talk in ways where I don't have doubt. I've tried to everything, and there's always just lingering doubt in my mind of being like, well, what if you don't? What if you can't? And it's just the truth of my mind. And regardless of that, over the past 5 years, I've still been able to perform, progress, and be the best in the world with that on my mind. So who's to say that I can't have that doubt on my mind while being a champion? There's no rules to it. That's why I've always said the champion mentality, the rules of being a champion, is that there are no rules. It's just whatever the champion does to win. That's it.
Because I made it my life's habit to develop this quality. I hope I've got it, I don't know for sure. But the quality is to develop the quality of being unstoppable. Develop the quality of being unstoppable. Say in yourself that no matter what life throws at me, it'll never stop me. No matter how rough it gets, I will never quit. And nothing will ever stop me. Make the decision that you can be tired, you can be worn out, but nothing is ever going to stop you. That's a wonderful decision. Because then no matter what life throws at you, you pick yourself up. And you say, okay, give it, give it your best shot, as Fonzie says. Nothing is going to stop you. It's a wonderful feeling. It's a wonderful feeling. And it's the basis.
This magic pill, they want to know the secret, but there is no secret. It's just hard work. But I think the thing that everyone who's listening lacks is the context on how hard work is, not in that it's complex, but just in that it's a continuous and unending focus on one thing and noticing the details that separate mediocrity from greatness. And if you're like, I don't know what the difference between those two things is, that is the opportunity that hard work reveals.
Sometimes a man who's not at peace is a man who was born to not fit in, but he's trying to shoehorn himself into a box or into a hole that he was never meant to fit in. And that might be you. All right, know who you are. Know if you're meant to walk shoulder to shoulder and line to line with a group of other men. And if you are, great, wonderful, do it, be the best at it. But if you're not, don't search for a destination. The trip is the destination. The journey is the goal. The journey is the goal.
Small details in the end of the day will make the big difference, in my opinion. So, as you say, and I will keep repeating, the consistency is the most difficult thing.
Just doing it every day.
Yes, every day.
Do you ever wake up and you say,
I fight against my mind. Yes, sometimes it's happened. We are all human beings. We are not happy every day. We are, not in a good mood every day. It's normal. It's part of us.
what do you do to overcome that?
I fight against that. It's the big challenge. It's when you're not willing to do something, but you have to do it. This is the main point. This is why I say our mind, it's a box of surprises, and you have to challenge yourself to be consistent. I repeat, sometimes it's hard. It's what many people say, you like to go to the gym every day. Of course not. It's not true. Nobody likes to go to the gym every day. But you have to do it.
Take ownership. Take extreme ownership. Don't make excuses. Don't blame any other person or any other thing. Get control of your ego. Don't hide your delicate pride from the truth. Take ownership of everything in your world, the good and the bad. Take ownership of your mistakes, take ownership of your shortfalls, take ownership of your problems, and then take ownership of the solutions that will get those problems solved. Take ownership of your job, of your team, of your future, and take ownership of your life. Lead yourself and your team and the people in your life. Lead them all.
Something that's a personal curse that's difficult, think about it as the selection criteria that everybody has to get over. That's the reason why so few people are equanimous and actually have peace in their mind. Because meditation is hard and everyone thinks, am I doing it right? This kind of sucks and I'm twitchy and I'm tired today. Why are so few people in shape? Because going to the gym and sticking to the gym is difficult. Maybe it's a tiny bit easier for some people that like it than others, but for most people, most of the time, it's really, really hard. Thinking about the challenges that you need to face is just a selection criteria, the cost of doing business, right? This is just the cost of doing business, and I need to pay it.
We're not men because we face the battle and we get immediately victory every time a battle comes up. We're men because we face the battle and we stay in the battle when we feel like we're losing and we feel like we're getting beat up. But we stay in there and we keep fighting and we plant our feet and we say, until death do our part, this is me and I will fight this battle regardless of what the battle is. Being tired is part of fighting. Go find one MMA fighter, one boxer, one combatant of any kind who's never tired, who never gets tired, who doesn't get so exhausted in the ring that he's just moving on guts alone. That's all he's got left is his guts. All they have left is their will to get back up again.
In life, folks, you cannot change your life unless you change something. If you always do what you always did, you'll always get what you always got. No matter what it is. Many times you say to yourself, I gotta lose weight, I'm too fat. And then you know what? During the day you eat at night, and the next day you get mad at yourself. Well, what do you want? What do you want? You gotta change something.
Everything worthwhile is uphill. And today's word is uphill. You see, every dream that you've ever had, it's all uphill. If you have a great relationship with somebody, you had to work on it. It's uphill. If you've built a wonderful business, guess what? It was uphill. If you've made the right decisions, they're not easy, are they? It's uphill. And the only way that you can go uphill is to be intentional. Nobody ever accidentally went uphill. You've never talked to a successful person and said, how did you get to the top of the mountain? And then look at you and say, I have no idea. If they're at the top of the mountain, they know how they got there.
You're blind to your own weaknesses, but you're also blind to your own strengths. And so then I think, well, if you've got your act together, it'd be better for you, and instantly it would be better for your family, assuming they wanted you to get your act together, and not everyone does, and then it would be better for the community. Like, how far could you take that? If you stopped wasting time, and if you stopped lying, and if you oriented yourself to the highest possible good that you could conceive of, and you committed to that, how much good could you do? Well, I would say, why don't you find out? So that's what I think you should do. You should find out. You don't have anything better to do. And there's nothing in it, as far as I've been able to tell, there's nothing in it but good. Maybe you could sort yourself out so that you wanted nothing but the good. And then maybe you could help make that manifest in the world. And maybe we wouldn't have all these terrible problems then. At least we'd have fewer of them, and that would be a start. It's the answer to the problem of humanity is the integrity of the individual. That's the answer.
You have to lose your fear of failure. Failure is part of the process. People who never fail, never try. You have to fail. You got to get it wrong to get it right. You learn nothing from winning. You only learn from your failures. Warren Buffett said he won't even invest in a person's business unless they fail in 2 other businesses. Because now you know what not to do. And so I think that's probably the biggest thing, man. I've overcome so many failures. I've failed more times than I've succeeded. That's, I tell you the truth, man. It's like Michael Jordan. Michael Jordan took 949 game-winning shots. He only made 123. He's the greatest basketball player to ever live. He only made 123 game-winning shots. He took 949 of them. All you gotta do is win some of the time.
Nobody cares about you is something that was never made clear to me. And I mean that in the most positive, optimistic, inspiring, motivating way. Like, I think that, especially if you see yourself as a creative or you want to exist on YouTube or as a filmmaker, or a musician, or as an artist or a painter, or any of those things, like, you think that everybody's paying attention. And because of that, it kind of controls how you think. And even when I was young and fearless and nothing to lose, I was still so cognizant of, like, how are people going to react to this and what's the best way to do, like, I was so aware. And the reality is nobody gives a shit. Everybody is so focused on themselves in this world. Nobody has time for you. And the sooner you accept that as a creative person, the sooner you're free. Like, you're totally free. Like, do exactly what feels right to you. And if you can get yourself on that trajectory, then it goes back to what we were talking about before, about being novel, about being an original, about not being a photocopy of somebody who did something. If you're that photocopy, you will never be the original.
Everything comes from the imagination. Everything comes from, like, before this microphone was a microphone, someone somehow thought about it. How can I speak into something that would amplify my voice and blah, 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 blah. And then this came out of it. And it's evolved over the years. Well, everything comes from the imagination. So the power of the mind, people don't understand. We still don't understand. I still don't understand how powerful it is. I'm still learning. But I know one thing is I can make things happen. I can go into levels, I just can't tell the world, but like there's levels that like I've manifested things that I'm just like, I still shock myself, like how the fuck did I make that happen? And this is not even to do with fighting, this is to do with my personal life. And I'm like, I made that happen. And this is through this like manifesting subconsciously as well. Just years of something just manifesting, and boom, it's right there. I'm just like, I really made that happen. It's scary, man. It's scary for me to even think about.
When you set a dream and you say, this is what I'm going to do. I'm going to do this, I'm going to do that. And you make a plan, and then plans are good. But if you come to a certain point where there's a tree across the road or the bridge is out, you can't say, well, there goes my dream. You've got to be flexible. Well, what am I going to do? What adjustments am I going to make to be able to still get to where I'm going, to be what I want to be? You need some flexibility. You need discipline. You need personal discipline. There's times when you don't feel like doing what needs to be done to get this. But you got to say, feelings has nothing to do with it. This is my dream. This is what I'm going to do. And I'm going to do the things that I don't feel like doing. I'm going to do the things I don't want to do. I'm going to do the things that don't come easy to me, that do not come natural to me. I'm going to get up and do it. You can't live your life on feelings.
You have to believe in yourself. You have to believe that it's possible, because you can create your reality. The perception that you have of the world, if you think there's only scarcity, there's no opportunity, that's how you are going to interact with reality. If you think that there's abundance, if you think that there's opportunity, then these things will manifest themselves to you. So you have to believe that you can, right? And the way that you believe, and the way that you can get to that state, because a lot of people are like, I have a lot of doubt. So do I. I have it all the time. Even if at these levels, right? You're doing 7-figure months. Dude, there's people doing 8-figure months. That's hard to fathom. That's hard to imagine. Yeah. But it's still possible. Yeah, of course. Is it difficult? Absolutely. But it's a mindset shift.
Start walking. You got to start walking, because the perspective's not going to change. You have to start moving forward. You have to start taking steps in order to improve your vision, improve your perspective, change your perspective, make some kind of progress. And worst case scenario, you figure out that you walked the wrong direction. Okay, now you can go walk in the other direction. And that's going to be fine. But standing there lost and not doing anything, is just waiting to die, waiting to starve to death. Don't let that happen.
Unchosen suffering is going to happen in life. Your parents are going to pass away, loved ones are going to die, your relationships are going to break down, your body is going to fail you, you're going to become ill or sick or destitute. Things are going to happen that you have no control over. And the only way that you can prepare yourself for unchosen suffering is with chosen suffering.
Right.
You can elect to put yourself into a position to become a stronger alloy of whatever the metal is that you're made of. And by purposefully choosing difficult things, you will armor yourself against that situation. It's still going to suck. But think about how much more fragile you would be if you hadn't overcome all of this stuff. We spoke about this yesterday. Every single person that I know that is incredibly successful in a balanced way and has a good perspective on it elects to do very hard things regularly. It humbles them, it reminds them that they're just mortal, and it also means that if the entire mainstream media apparatus tries to come down on top of you, let's say, just as a hypothetical, let's say that occurs, that you can deal with it because you know that you've dealt with 1,000 disgusting kettlebell workouts followed by a cold tub.
We're the lucky ones. A point made by Richard Dawkins, more poetically than I can recite here. We're the lucky ones. We're the ones who get to die. Because you only get to die for having lived. Most people who could ever exist will never even be born. So no matter what your lot is in life, if you have a disease or you have cancer, you're crippled, whatever is the thing, at the end of the day, you're alive, not dead, nor not having ever been born. So take every occasion you can to smell the flowers, to drink in the sunsets and the sunrise and the majestic sky above you that they cradle through the nighttime hours, and celebrate life because you won the lottery.
Most people expect that the pencil wireframe that they do on their first shot is hard work because that's the hardest they've worked, not the amount of hard work that is required in order to get the level of outcome that they say they want or that they expect. And so there's a divorce in reality because they don't have the context from which to make a judgment because they've never been great at anything. And until you get great, because as soon as you get great at one thing, you realize just the tremendous amount of hours and work that it takes to be great at one thing. And then there's this oh shit moment that I can express personally, which is you realize that there's so few things that you can be great at. And then the discipline comes down to saying, what are the 2 or 3 things that I can be really good at in my life? Because it will take me 5 to 7 years to be exceptional at this one thing.
If you stay in your comfort zone, that's where you will fail. You will fail in your comfort zone. Success is not a comfortable procedure. It is a very uncomfortable thing to attempt. So you got to get comfortable being uncomfortable if you ever want to be successful. Start putting some pressure on. Put some pressure on yourself. Get out here and get about it. Look, I'd love to sugarcoat this thing for you. I'd love to tell you, look, you can go out here and get rich, do a couple of things. That ain't happening. You got to get real doggish.
Every single person who wants to do something with their life and has done something with their life has gone through the exact chapter that you're going through. And it's the lonely chapter. It's the chapter where you don't fit in with your own friends, but you don't have the outcomes yet to fit into a new group of friends. And you're doing this thing, you're consuming content on the internet, you're doing these free tutorials online to try and figure out how to set up a podcast and where do I host this thing? And then you're going through this and you're like, is this even worth it? Because you have no signs of success, right? But if there's anything that you can take away from what we're saying right now is that the sign of success is the hate that you get along the way. And what you can't do is bend the knee to their hate and fit back into the conformity because it's comfortable and it's warm. Because like in the Matrix, when Trinity opens the door, when Neo's about to go take the red pill and he wants to get out of the car, she says, Neo, you've been down that road and you know exactly where it leads.
If you decide to be rich today, who gonna stop you? Who? If you decide you want to be rich, All you gotta do is start. Why not? Who gonna stop you? Unless you tell it to the wrong person. Mama, listen to me. I'm going to be rich. Ain't anybody rich in this family. Go in there and sit down somewhere. Get yourself a good job. Oh, mama, you must be right. No, mama could be wrong. Because what you have in your imagination, God didn't show it to your mama. I'm sorry. He showed it to you. Listen to me. If y'all don't do nothing else, write everything you imagine down. Write it all down and watch what happens.
So the goal was to be the first one at breakfast. So I set my alarm. I make sure I'm up by sunrise. I get out of bed, I put on my gear, and I head downstairs. But when I get there, Kobe's already there, with ice packs on his knees, drenched in sweat. Now, it took me a minute to figure it out, but this guy wasn't only awake before me. He had already worked out. He had just played in the finals days earlier. Meanwhile, I'd been off for months and I was still exhausted. What he had done that morning was incomprehensible to me. That dedication he had only days after falling short of an NBA championship. That taught me something I've never forgotten. Legends aren't defined by their successes. They're defined by how they bounce back from their failures. And that's what I hope to communicate to anyone watching this.
You know, there's been so many times where I've been in a prep and I felt way too far behind to win. And I had an injury last year when I tore my lat, tore my bicep. I was in the hospital, like all these different things going on, and I'm like, there's no way that I can do this. Like, it's impossible. And if I were to ever ask myself in the past, like, do you think you could win or get through this and do this? I'd be like, no way, it's impossible. But I was in it and I did it and I accomplished it. And I was like, I'm capable of so much more than my mind understands. And I think that's just the greatest part of the journey that I've achieved, is like that understanding of what I'm capable of and that belief in myself to what I can accomplish. And it only came through the journey. It didn't come through the winning. It came through the challenge that came along the journey and coming through it and fighting through it, and the beauty of all that. And on top of that, there's just been so many moments in the midst of things where, like, it's a workout or it's a diet or I'm starving or I'm doing check-ins or something, and I'm just like, this is incredible. Like, I'm peak condition in the world right now, fighting to be the best in the world.
There's no security in life, only opportunity. Life is very perverse in a way, because the more we seek security, the less we have it. And the more we seek opportunity, the more we have security. Helen Keller said this beautifully. She said, life is either a daring adventure or nothing at all. That the tendency, she said in the earlier parts of this statement, she said the tendency to seek security is the low road to failure. That courage is absolutely essential. And one of the things that I used to think that if you were really courageous, eventually you got to the point where you weren't afraid. I'm going to tell you something, that if you're not a little bit afraid, at least 3 or 4 nights a week, you're not trying hard enough. If you're not falling on your face over and over again, if you're not trembling when you go to sleep with your heart pounding, then what is happening is you're not trying hard enough. You're living too far within your potential. That all really successful people live on the outside edge of what they're capable of. And it's always a little bit scary on the outside edge, because we all have feelings of uncertainty. We all have fears. We all have doubts that hold us back. But the brave person is simply the person who moves forward and keeps taking the chance. And you cannot imagine a successful person without courage. You cannot imagine a successful person without the courage to face and confront their fears and to move forward.
400 trillion to 1. When you understand that math, how can't you live your life? That's how rare it is to be a human being. And what are you waiting for? Like, you've been given this ridiculous triple miracle. Like, you're literally more likely to win the lotto 10 times in your life than actually have a life. So I ask you, my friends, with this one life, you're gonna sit on your couch and dwell? You're gonna be upset about some shortcoming? You're gonna be upset about that thing that happened last week that f***ed you up? I'm asking you, I'm promising you, please take this swing. Make this at bat. I am so tired of people stopping because their uncle critiqued them, or their mom made fun of them along the way, or their girlfriend doesn't think that they can do it. You've got one at bat, 400 trillion to 1. Please do something about it. We are living through the greatest era to be alive ever. Yes, there's stuff. I got news for you. There's always stuff. But when you take control of your at bat, when you put it all on yourself, when it's your fault and your wins. When you own it, that's when it starts happening.
You cannot let a fear of failure, or a fear of comparison, or a fear of judgment stop you from doing what's going to make you great. You cannot succeed without this risk of failure. You cannot have a voice without the risk of criticism. And you cannot love without the risk of loss. You must go out and you must take these risks. Everything I'm truly proud of in this life has been a terrifying prospect to me. From my first play, to hosting Saturday Night Live, to getting married, to being a father, to speaking to you today. None of it comes easy. And people will tell you to do what makes you happy. But a lot of this has been hard work. And I'm not always happy. And I don't think you should do just what makes you happy. I think you should do what makes you great. Do what's uncomfortable and scary and hard, but pays off in the long run. Be willing to fail. Let yourself fail. Fail in the way and the place where you would want to fail. Fail, pick yourself up, and fail again. Because without this struggle, what is your success anyway? Look, as best we know it, we have one life. In it, you have to trust your own voice, your own ideas, your honesty, your vulnerability, and through this you will find your way. You do not have to be fearless. Just don't let fear stop you. Live like this as best you can, and I guarantee you will look back on a life well lived.
The discipline of patience, the thing that goes beyond hustle and hard work, right? Because we all talk about hustle, we talk about working hard, we talk about grinding, this, that, and the third, but nobody talks to you about patience. Nobody speaks about that patience, because in the patience, that's where you're gonna make it or you're gonna break, right? The discipline of patience from going too soon. The discipline of patience from rushing people to the wrong conclusion. The discipline of patience, right? Because when you're not patient, you can make a lot of mistakes, man. Like I told you, the quote said, don't judge each day by the harvest you reap. You judge each day by the seeds that you sow, right? When you sow a seed, you gotta be what? Oak, you gotta be patient.
We all got the gift. There's something that we've all been blessed with. At some point, if we listen to that fucking little thing that speaks to us inside, some people call it instinct, some people call it a vibe, some people call it an energy, whatever the you call it. Some people call it a voice. Whatever that thing is, bro, if it sparks the thought that changes the whole trajectory to what your life can evolve into because you took a second to listen to that shit, you are identifying with your blessing, you are identifying with your gift, and at that point, you learn what the fuck it is and become one with it and walk in your purpose, bro.
Trial and error. You know, you grow up and you make game-winning shots and it's awesome. You come back the next day and miss a game-winning shot and it's misery. And then the next day comes and you're back playing again, and you understand that life has this cyclical nature where it's, you know, what you do on Monday is fantastic, but then Tuesday is a bad day. But guess what? There's Wednesday. Yeah. So are we just supposed to live our lives like this the whole time? You know, versus just staying like this and understanding that it's really just a journey of evolution every day. It's just constant improvement, constant curiosity, constantly getting better. The results don't really matter. It's the figuring out that matters.
Yeah, and we all get obsessed about the results.
Yeah.
Like we get obsessed about like the output,
yeah,
not the input, of not figuring it out.
Stop listening to the normality of life and everyone saying the way it is the way it's gonna be for you. The way it is for you is blood, sweat, and tears today to create a foundation of strength for tomorrow. Those days combined into whatever dream you want to be reality. We are always fighting for that edge, always fighting for that opportunity. So it's not past, it's not missed, but lived. We're not gonna cry about those opportunities. We're gonna smile, remember them, and thank God they came, because we were ready when they came. You won't be ready if today isn't pushed with the strenuous nature and the pressure of the moment in the future that everything rides on. That stress of everybody on you, and it's a make or break moment in your life, must exist today with no one watching. If that's ever gonna happen your way, you need that X factor. You need that leg up.
you only start really liking stuff when you get good at it, in my opinion. And you only get good at it by doing it a lot of times before you're good at it. And so this is why I'm a big believer in this, is that when you are starting out, I think you gotta find the thing that's the pain. And like, pain motivates significantly faster and stronger than pleasure does. Like, people are like, no, passion's the right way. It's like, point a gun at a family member, all of a sudden, 10 out of 10 motivation. Pain. And so like, I think people should use their pain. And if they don't have enough pain, then one, maybe that's fine, and you're a dreamer, and that's okay. But I will tell you that a word that I read in my like 6-month journey between when I wanted to quit and when I actually quit, there was this word that just like pissed me off. And it was this in the self-help or entrepreneur book, and it said, there are entrepreneurs and there are entrepreneurs. And it was like, entrepreneurs are people who read these books and don't do anything. I was just like, I don't want to be one. I was like, I am one of these right now. And it just like felt so powerless.
As you get older, you don't hear it anymore because you're hearing all the other voices. You're hearing your voices of your parents, the teachers, the culture around you, your peers, your friends, telling you this is what's cool, this is what's not cool. And that little voice becomes completely drowned out. And so you don't know who you are anymore. And you're afraid, particularly young people today. I mean, maybe it's always been that way, are so afraid of being different. They're so afraid of being odd. But look at all the powerful people in this world. Look at your Elon Musks. Look at your celebrities in entertainment, in business, in politics. They're one of a kind. They have like, I hate that word, but it's like a brand. They're different. They stand out for something that's truly different. You know, even Albert Einstein, there's nobody else like Einstein. There's nobody like Da Vinci. Okay? That's where your power lies. And you'll go, oh, but Robert, those are people that were brilliant, that were talented. I'm not like that. I don't have that. Well, bullshit. You do have that. It's just you're forgetting about it, and you don't want to put the effort into it.
I don't care how good you are in anything. You don't have discipline, you ain't nobody.
Right.
Nothing. Because you give up in the slightest struggle without discipline.
100%.
With discipline is doing what you hate to do, but do it like you love it.
Doing what you hate to do, but do it like you love it. That is a great quote. Mm-hmm. And if you can do that, you could be successful in anything.
You normally are.
Your mind has to be stronger than your feelings. Your mind has to be stronger than your feelings. Think about every poor decision you've made in your life.
Gosh.
There was more emotion that was involved in it than there was mind. Every single one of them. Think about it. Really was. Your feelings keep you in bed. Your mind tells you, get up.
It's easy to give up. You know,
Hell
it's
yeah.
easy. It's the easiest thing in the world to do. All right, man, I'm done. I ain't going. I ain't gonna keep going.
Yeah,
I don't feel like going to work. I'm done.
Yeah, man.
It's easy. It's very easy. But what's hard is going, yo, yesterday I got nothing from working as hard as I could. Nothing happened from that. I'm gonna do the same thing again today, but I'm gonna try to go harder. That's the hardest thing in the world. To get up every day and give 100% and be in the same position that you were each day, but mentally know that you're trying and trying and trying. That's a real grind.
It's been very fun especially talking to young men about this. It's like, well, and that's the other thing too, is I think the world is full of darkness, let's say. And we could say each of us have a little bit of light. And if we release that light, if we let it shine properly, Christ, it's too cliche to go on with in some sense, but the world is a lesser place if you do not reveal from within yourself what you have to reveal. And the fact that the world is a lesser place actually turns out not to be trivial. Like, if you aren't everything you could be, more people will die, more people will suffer, more evil will be unconstrained, more tyranny will reign, more chaos will remain chaotic and dangerous, all of that.
Do you mean this in the sense of like the old proverb of the wings of a butterfly fluttering become a hurricane?
It's something similar to that, but it can even be more local. It's like your family is more messed up than it could be if you were less messed up than you are.
Right.
So if you just got your act together, like 10% more, your family would be 1% better.
Right.
It's like, well, do it.
And that would ripple off into the people that they interact with.
Yes, and it ripples. That's the other thing that's so cool is that, like, people think, well, there's 7 billion of us. And each of us is just this separate dust mote, like floating in the cosmos. And what the hell difference does it make what you do anyways? It's like, that is not how we're connected. It's like, you're the center of a network. And you know, well, you know way more people than this, but let's say typically, you know you're going to know 1,000 people in your life, well enough to have an impact on them. Okay? And each of those 1,000 people is going to know 1,000 people. So you're one step from 1 million and 2 steps from 1 billion. And we are networked, technically. That's how human interactions work. And so when you do something that you shouldn't do, it's worse than you think. And when you do something that you should do, it's better than you think. And so you think, well, this is why I've been telling people, well, clean up your room. It's like, well, your room is actually networked too. It's not that easy to clean up your room, to set it. So you want your room to be set up so that when you walk in there, it tells you to be better than you generally are. It's organized, it's got direction, everything's in its place. You try to do that in a chaotic household. You know, I've watched people do this because I had students do these sorts of things as assignments. I'd say, look, pick a small moral goal, clean up your room, and just write down what happens as a consequence. So maybe these are students in a chaotic household. The whole place is a bloody mess. No one's taking any responsibility for anything. And so they decide they're going to start to clean up their room. And then the people in the household notice. Well, the first thing they do is get pissed off. It's like, who do you think you are? Like, you think you're better than us? Like, why do you think this is worthwhile? Who died and made you God? All of that. So just by trying to organize this little part of their life, they immediately run into the people whose actions they're casting in a dim light by trying to improve themselves to some degree. They might have to have like a thorough war in their household to be allowed to do something as simple as keep the room orderly. You'll find out very rapidly that A, that's way more difficult than it sounds, and B, that the consequences of it are far more far-reaching than people think. So that's quite fun. No, because maybe part of it is that like everything around you is full of potential. Everything. Maybe more potential than you could ever possibly utilize. And so maybe all you have is this little rat hole of a room in some rundown place in the world. It's like, fix it up. There's more there than you think. See what happens if you fix it up. And you'll fix yourself up simultaneously because you have to get disciplined in order to fix up the room. And then you have a fixed up room and you'll be a more fixed up person. It's like, you think that nothing will happen as a consequence of that? It's like all hell will break loose as a consequence of that.
Trust me, you have a mindset right now, just like I have a mindset. It's how we view life. I know people with a negative mindset, which basically they view everything in a negative way. I know people with a positive mindset, which means they view everything in a positive way. People with an abundance mindset, a scarcity mindset. It's a way of thinking. The question is, how did we get there? How did we get that mindset? Through practice and habits. People that have a negative mindset have continually thought negative. People that have a positive mindset have continually thought positive. You see, the things I do today determines the habits I have tomorrow, which determines the mindset I have for life. So go back to what you do daily and ask yourself, what kind of a mindset am I developing today?
Y'all ready for a lecture? Talk about the importance of nothing. Get up every day. You're entitled to nothing. Nobody owes you nothing. You could have talent, but you don't have discipline and you don't execute, you don't focus. What do you get? Nothing. If you're complacent and not paying attention to detail, what does that get you? Nothing. So, nothing is acceptable like the best. So, we need to be, everything is determined by what you do when you're trying to be your best. So that you can build on positive performance. So that, and that's the only thing, there should be nothing else.
And it's also very much worth thinking about with regards to setting up your life in general. It's like, if you concentrate solely on your career, you can get a long way in your career. And I would say that that's a strategy that a minority of men preferentially do. That's all they do. They work like 70, 80 hours a week. They go flat out on their career. They're staking everything on the small probability of exceptional status in a narrow domain. But it's hard on them. They don't have a life. It's very difficult for them to have a family. They don't know how to take any leisure activity. Like, they get very one-dimensional. Now, it may be that that unidimensionality is the price you have to pay to be exceptional at one thing, right? Because if you're going to be something like a genius-level mathematician, and you want to do that for, or a scientist, say, it's like you're in your lab all the time, you're working 70 hours a week or 80 hours a week, you're smart, you're dedicated, you're unidimensional, and that's how you get to beat all the other people who are doing that. It's the only way. But the problem is you don't get a life. Now, if you love being a scientist and you have that kind of focus of mind, well, first of all, you're a rare person, and second, you're going to pay for it. But fine, more power to you. But it's a risky business to do that. You sacrifice a lot for it, you know. And I would say most often, if you're speaking about having a healthy life, that isn't what you do. You spread yourself out more. So, you know, you have a family, you have some things that you do outside of work that are meaningful to you and useful. You have a network of friends. Well, those 3 things alone, or 4 things alone, are plenty to keep you well oriented. And then if one of those things collapses, you know, everything doesn't go. Now, the price you pay for that is the more you strive to optimize that balance, the less likely you are to be fantastically successful at any single one of them. But you might have a very, you know, if you consider your life as a whole, that might be a winning strategy. It's like, I want one thing in my life to be 150%, or I want 5 things in my life to be 80%. Well, there's a lot more richness in a life where you have 5 things operating at 80%, but you're not operating in any of them at 150%. So, and I really believe this.
You know, I really don't have regrets. I am the person that says, you know, as soon as you look back in your history and you come up with something that you feel like you want to change, something else has to change. You know, so.
What about your biggest disappointment?
Once again, that's the same analogy. You know, disappointment to me, to win, you got to lose. To be successful, you got to have something that's not successful. To be happy, you got to have disappointment. So I think all of those things have evolved and happened to make me who I am, and understand the benefits and the privileges I have for being who I am, you know, and not to wear it on my sleeve, be very humble about it. That's one thing my parents taught me very well, is, you know, don't wear your reputation, don't wear your accolades, don't wear your personality on your sleeve. Let it happen, let it be you. It is who you are. Don't hide from it, but don't wear it and rub it in people's face.
You talk about performance without a purpose.
Mm-hmm.
What's that?
So, like, for instance, let's say you have no races. Let's say you have no classes, no nothing. There's no purpose in your life. You know, people need to have purpose to get up. They need purpose to perform. You need to get to a point in your life where there's nothing on the docket. There's no 5K, there's no I'm gonna get into school to be this or that, and still perform to the highest level. Because what people don't get is one day that thing's gonna come up. And if you're not constantly performing without purpose, you're not gonna be ready when the time comes. It's this magical thing, purpose, that we're all looking for. But what's funny about it all is that we need these things to perform. But we don't take a second to realize the purpose is always there. The purpose never leaves us, because the very purpose is you. You are always the purpose. There may be another purpose, like being a SEAL or going to college or whatever, but the main purpose in life is you. So if you wake up in the morning and you don't want to do something, you don't care enough about yourself. And that's what you need to really research is, man, why am I not doing this for myself? Because that is the number one purpose in life, is to better oneself. So that's the only purpose I fucking need. So the reason I get up every day, even though there's no race or there's no school or there's nothing in front of me, is because I have pride in myself.
The key to being successful is planting. You've got to plant. Now, when you plant seeds, young people, you can't expect a harvest in 30 days. The harvest don't come in 30 days. You got to plant your seed, and sometimes the harvest don't come for years. Everything is not instant. So here's what I do. I get a row, and I drop seeds in the ground. Then I go back and I cover them up with dirt. Because the dirt, you need the dirt. Then, once I cover it up, I dig another row and I plant some more seeds. I got about 10 rows planted. I look back at the first row and it's starting to sprout. Some stuff starting to come out the ground. I don't go back to that first row and just start eating because it ain't really bearing no fruit right now. You can't eat the stalks and the leaves. You gotta wait till it bears fruit. In the meantime, you got to keep planting. Now, you're gonna look up in about 5 years, you're gonna look back at something you planted 5 years ago, gonna have a lot of fruit on it. Then you can go back and start partaking of that fruit. But the reason you gotta keep planting is because sometimes you're gonna get rained out. Sometimes it's gonna be a drought. Sometimes, man, the pesticides / haters is gonna do what they do to your planted crops. Now, you got to mentally be prepared for that. But the planting process can never stop. If I could tell anybody anything, keep planting seeds and never stop planting, because you have no idea when God gonna drop all the necessary rain that you look up and everything you need is right there.
The hardest part of all of it is being vulnerable enough to admit the abuse, admit the past. Most of us don't want other people to know that, and that's
right.
The hardest part, to open up and be that vulnerable.
Right.
When did that start to bubble to the surface for you and you start to see vulnerability as a strength?
Well, where it started making me, I had to stop giving a fuck about people. That was the biggest thing. I had to stop caring what people thought about me. I realized that everybody's fucked up. That's the one thing I realized. I walked around and I put these people on a fucking pedestal. Everybody was better than me. So I can't tell you anything about me because you're gonna judge me and I'm gonna feel even worse than what I am. What I realized, once I calmed my mind down and sat back and looked at how jacked up this world is, once you realize that you are not alone, everybody that's talking to you about how jacked up you are, only thing they've done better than you is they've hidden their fucked up world better than you have. That's all they've done. So once I realized that, if you want to sit back, like for instance, there's all these things that are on TV, and we have all these news people judging people who fuck up in life. And yeah, they made big mistakes. But that person who is judging you on TV, I guarantee you that news person, they say, I'm glad that my shit didn't come out, but I'm gonna judge the hell out of you. I know that about people. So if you want to sit back and judge how jacked up I was and how messed up my life was, Merry Christmas, go for it, have a good time. But I'm smiling at you right now, knowing you have a secret that you're not willing to share. It gives you a lot of power when you're able to go on a podcast this big and say, hey, tell me, I'll tell you anything you want to know, 'cause I no longer care. And that is a lot of power in that, to be able to put your life on a billboard for the whole world to see and say, judge it, man. Judge it. Like just me talking about it makes me feel good. And that's another thing about it. When you are willing to talk about how jacked up you are, the strength, that big rock that you carry, it just starts to come off you. It just starts to come off. That's why I do it so often. I'm like, hey man, I'll tell you anything you want to know. I'm tired of being afraid. I'm tired of not telling you shit. I'm tired of lying about how good I'm not.
I found that nothing in life is worthwhile unless you take risks. Nothing. Nelson Mandela said, there is no passion to be found playing small and settling for a life that's less than the one you're capable of living. Now, I'm sure in your experiences in school and applying to college and picking your major and deciding what you want to do with life, I'm sure people have told you to make sure you have something to fall back on. Make sure you got something to fall back on, honey. But I never understood that concept, having something to fall back on. If I'm going to fall, I don't want to fall back on anything except my faith. I want to fall forward. I figure at least this way I'll see what I'm going to hit. Fall forward. This is what I mean. Reggie Jackson struck out 2,600 times in his career, the most in the history of baseball. But you don't hear about the strikeouts. People remember the home runs. Fall forward. Thomas Edison conducted 1,000 failed experiments. Did you know that? I didn't know that. Because the 1,001st was the light bulb. Fall forward. Every failed experiment is one step closer to success. You've got to take risks.
As humans, I think naturally we go into situations sometimes and we're selfish. And so we want to see, how can this benefit me? How can I go into the situation and it best benefits me and everybody that I'm connected? Like, how can I get the edge in this situation? Instead of stepping back and understanding that when you're selfish, it's a dangerous thing, because when you're selfish and you go into situations at a certain point in life, we're always going to come up against something that's a lot tougher than us. And if we're always selfish, 9 out of 10 times, if the only thing we think about is just ourselves, when we hit something that's a lot tougher than us, we don't have a driving force to do what we do. And so it's easy for us to surrender, step back and say, man, forget it. I'll throw it away. It's just like I'm married, right? And so I'm young, I'm 6 years in. And so I went to an old couple one time and they were married some crazy years, 60 years, something like that. I said, right, crazy, insane. But I'm saying, how did you make it last that long? And they said, the reason we made it last this long is because we come from an era when something is broken, we don't throw it away, we fix it. And so as people, the way I approach situations, how can when something is broken, I don't throw it away and I don't let the circumstance or the situation define my life, but I try to figure out how can I fix it, and fixing it may not be my arm working, but fixing it may be me using it every day to be a blessing in somebody else's life.
How do you develop consistency and more discipline in your life? And often with these kind of ideas and questions, I find the focus wrong, and I like to look at it differently from a different angle. So the human brain operates by pleasure and pain. What is pleasurable, we're attracted to, and what is painful, we naturally recoil from. And if things become too painful, we never do. And if things become pleasurable, we get addicted to them, often with bad consequences, right? So if the idea of discipline, of consistently doing an action, is only associated with pain, with tedium, being by yourself in a room, doing one thing over and over and over again, you're never going to get over the mountain, because it's associated with too much pain, and the brain naturally shrinks from anything that's painful, okay? So there has to be pleasure involved. Discipline has to have an element of pleasure. Consistently doing your work has to have rewards. Reward is the key word here, right? So if you never feel direct, pleasurable sensation from what discipline is giving you, then it's never going to work. Well, what are the rewards? When you were young, when you were a child, if you learned a sport, or you learned a musical instrument, or you learned chess, you knew that in the beginning, day by day, it was boring as shit, you hated it, it wasn't fun. But if you stuck with it, after 3 months, 6 months, wow, I can play this tune. Yeah, I can make a 3-point shot. Yeah, I can win a chess game here. All right? There's a reward. And then you push through and you go further and further and further and further. Okay? If you never had that experience in your childhood, then it's pretty rough. I think most of us have had that in some kind of endeavor. But if you've never experienced a reward from discipline, it's going to be very difficult for you. But you have to know that after the 3 months or the 6 months of sitting in your office and writing every single day, over and over and over again, you try to write a book or a novel or whatever, it's boring as hell. But man, I'm going to reach that moment in 3 months or 4 months. There's going to be a reward, and I'm going to feel it, and I'm going to get addicted. I'm going to get hooked to that. And you get hooked to those rewards to the point where other kinds of immediate pleasures don't have the same effect on you. And you want this again and again and again in your life. The highs that come from actually reaching your goals. So you have to think in the moment of this where you're trying to discipline yourself of what will be the reward, to visualize it and feel it. I'm going to have this skill at the end. I'm going to have this business that I've started. I'm going to have this sense of pride. I'm going to have this sense that I got where I wanted to. And literally visualize it and imagine it and feel it in your body and know that that's where I'm going to have that reward at some point. And if it's too much drudgery and tedium, you're never going to get past that point. So that's sort of my weakness.
In life, we have these 5 buckets, right? The first bucket is our knowledge, which is what we know. When we apply what we know, it becomes a skill, right? And these first 2 buckets, your knowledge and your skills, are the only buckets in your life that no professional earthquake can ever unfill. They're also the buckets that overflow to fill these last 3 buckets, which is your network, your resources, and your reputation. When you have knowledge and skills, you'll undoubtedly build a network that will lead to resources, and finally reputation. Life can take away these last 3 buckets, but if you're a young person, the key takeaway here is when you're selecting that job, like I was at 16, 17, 18, 19 years old, don't select for reputation, a nice jobs title. Don't even select for resources, getting paid more. Focus on jobs that will fill these first 2 buckets, which is knowledge and skills.
You want to have more joy and satisfaction at work, you need to engage it differently, even when it sucks. How many of you have had like 3 months of doing suck work? Anybody? Just like the last few months, you're like, God, this sucks. Anybody? Yeah, you should celebrate that. Say, that's me! It's totally okay when you have suck work sometimes. How do you engage with it? Because what most people do, they hate it. They hate the struggle. They hate the suck. But if you ever work with elite army people, they have this great saying, right? Especially the Green Berets, I love that saying. They say you have to embrace the suck. And I was like, ooh, that's good, guys. You gotta embrace the suck. Because you know what? If you avoid it or you hate it, look, anything you pour hate on grows into a monster. Anything you grow hate on. If you hate taking out the garbage, guess what taking out the garbage is to you now? A monster. It's just garbage. But you hate taking out the garbage, so now it becomes a thing to you and your spouse. The garbage became a monster between you and your spouse. Really? It's because someone applied hate onto that garbage, right? You apply hate to anything, it grows into a monster. You hate the commute to work, and you gotta do it every day? How does that feel? You hate doing email, and you gotta do it every day? How does that feel? You hate bringing that topic up with your spouse? How does that feel?
And there's a very deep truth here that points to the arising of a mentally created self-image that people have and live with. So it's almost as if you had a phantom that walks with you wherever you go, that is your mind-created image or concept of who you are. And that is what we call the ego. The ego is the mental image conditioned by the past, conditioned by your environment and many other factors. The mental image, the conceptual sense of self that you identify with so completely that you disappear in it and live through it. You believe that that is who you are.
When nothing seems to go right, I sometimes think of a stonecutter hammering away at his rock 100 times without a dent in it. Yet on the 101st blow, the rock will split in two, and I know it was not that blow that did it, but all that had gone before. If you're not willing to practice and practice until you get it right, you'll never make the 100 blows that makes the breakthrough on the 101st.
If you're feeling amotivated, you need to do something and put yourself into a state that's harder than the state you're in. So for instance, if you're sitting around feeling amotivated or you find yourself tending to tasks that are irrelevant to the goal that you really should be focused on, you need to put your body and mind into a state of discomfort quickly. And the way to do that is to either engage in some tangential activity, meaning an activity not related to your goal that puts your body into a very different state. So here again, I'll default to the obvious one, which is something like cold shower, or cold immersion, which not only increases dopamine long-term, or over several hours rather, but for most people is experienced as pain. that pain causes a rebound out of that dopamine trough faster than it would occur if you had just stayed in that amotivated state and waited for it to go away, or done something like cleaning up that for whatever reason felt like it required less friction. When I say friction, I mean limbic friction. Your limbic system is always in this dialogue with your forebrain. And limbic friction goes two ways. Limbic friction can be you're tired and you don't want to do something, and so you have to, quote unquote, motivate to do it, energize yourself to do it. Or limbic friction can be that you're nervous and scared and anxious to do something, and you have to calm yourself in order to lean forward into action in order to do that thing despite the anxiety.
My personal question to you is, why not you? You've got the brains, you can make decisions, you can study the plan, you can change your life, you can grow immensely in the next few years, you can make your dreams come true, you can build a financial wall around your family nothing can get through, you can become healthy, you can become powerful. Why not you? And I'm here to say that I'm ready to pledge my support to make your personal dreams come true. I asked the question, why not you? But I'm not gonna ask it and just walk away. I'm gonna ask it and walk with you in this journey as we take Herbalife around the world. And now here's my last question. My very last question on the questions to ponder is, why not now? There never was a better time. Mark has brought Herbalife to an incredible mountaintop. He's brought Herbalife with the help of others who have brought it here. It has been brought to a special moment. Barcelona was special, and Orlando was outrageous. But I'm telling you, this extravaganza has been the most awesome thing I have ever seen. All of your cooperation, the way you have learned and listened and worked hard to get it all, I congratulate you for that. But Mark brought us here. And what a time now for us to take this dream and not let it die. Take this dream and give it life. Take this dream and breathe into it your own personal spirit until finally it becomes a flame that burns around the whole world. Let's go do it now.